Hey folks, welcome to What's New, the Peter Larmond Outdoors radio show. I'm your host, Peter Larmond, and I want to thank you for taking the time to listen on us today. The weather that we're having up here in the northeastern part of the U.S. and in eastern Canada, this weather can only mean one thing for us up here, and that's time for us to put our boats, get them winterized, and put them away for another long winter. I know I did my boat earlier this week, and the great folks over at George's Marine and Sports over in Ottawa, they take care of my Nitro Z9. They winterize it, shrink wrap it, and store it for me, and I don't have to worry about it over the cold winter months. And you know, it's a little investment to get it properly winterized, but it eliminates a lot of problems in the spring. We have another great show for you today. Returning to the show is a gentleman that I met back in ICAST back in July, and we had him on the show before that. Richard Broadwell, he's the national sales manager of Bill Lewis Outdoors, joins us today. And if you like topwater baits, you're really going to want to stay tuned and listen to this. Richard will be talking to us today about those awesome baits. However, before we bring Richard onto the show, let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back right after this. You're listening to What's New, the Peter Larmond Outdoors radio show on WRVO Radio Network 1.
Right now, watch thousands of the best outdoor TV shows with My Outdoor TV.
This should be good.
The new app from Outdoor Channel and Sportsman Channel.
That's what we've been looking for.
Stream or download from the largest library of hunting, fishing, and shooting sports content you can't get anywhere else.
Y'all want more? I'm going to give you more.
Get some!
Thousands of episodes, all at your fingertips. Get your first month free at myoutdoortv.com/Canada.
Using promo code PLO Radio. Hey folks, welcome back. Today on the show, we're talking with Richard Broadwell, who's the national sales manager for Bill Lewis Outdoors. Richard, welcome back on the show.
How you doing, Peter? Glad to be back.
Doing very well, Richard. Richard, everyone knows Bill Lewis Outdoors, and they automatically think Lips's crankbaits and the rattle trap. Now you guys come out with a couple of new products, the Square Bill 1.5, but the one I'm really stoked about, is the Stutter Step. A totally different design from the rattle trap, a topwater bait. Tell our listeners, how did the Stutter Step come about?
Well, Peter, we actually had a phone call, first an email that came in from a lure designer in Zimbabwe, South Africa, a guy named Greg Budd, and he developed a bait that they use on tiger fish over in South Africa, and he was designed this bait really for something that would fish in more current than what we have around here, and the bait actually has a tail. It's a topwater lure, as you said, and it's got a tail on the back of it that kind of hangs down into the water, and that was kind of used to help him when he was fishing it in current and so forth. And we actually just got an email from him asking if we'd be interested in taking a look at a bait that he had designed and so forth. And we get people that do that from time to time and so forth. So anyway, we got in touch with him in communication and so forth, and ended up having him send us some samples over, and they were actually designed out of wood, and of course all of our plastic baits are made of plastic. So what we did is when we received the lures, first thing we did obviously is go take them out and fish them, and we had some different sizes and types and so forth, and the one that we ended up going with, which is the Stutter Step, as we're talking about. As soon as Wes Higgins, who's the president of the company, he and I took this thing out to the test pool or whatever, and as soon as we started going through the baits and threw this particular one out in the water and saw the action that it had, it was something that no one had really ever seen in topwater fishing. And just the way that the bait, it literally walks in place from side to side. So what we had to do is figure out how to get this lure converted over from a wooden lure into a plastic lure. So we spent a couple of years just on the design and development of it, and came out with a great finished product called the Stutter Step. So it's been about a 2-year project that we've worked on. We're extremely excited about it. This bait it's not just a typical topwater lure. What makes this bait so unique is you can literally walk this lure from side to side, and it stays pretty much in place, which a lot of target or strike zone where you're throwing the lure. So we're just really, really excited about it, and so is everybody else, because we have had just tons of orders coming in, and it is amazing the hype that this lure has created around the fishing industry.
You know what? It's an incredible lure. I was fortunate enough to throw one there this fall. I'm telling you, folks, if you're into topwater and anything whatsoever with topwater, you really got to check these Stutter Steps out. The action on it is really, as Richard was saying, it's literally moves on its own. You know what? I can't even describe it. I wish I could. I can't. It was just the action that we got, that I seen out of that. The strikes and the follow-ups that we got with it were just amazing. You know, and this was towards the end of the fall, where the topwater bite, you know, the jerkbait bite and topwater bite, at least for where we are up here in Ontario, Canada, it really died off, and we were still getting, you know, strikes and then looking at it. So that's phenomenal.
Well, one thing about it, Peter, that I really like about it is the bait has different actions that you can, you know, get, you know, when you're fishing the lure. You know, most lures will have one type of action, and that's pretty much it. But what really sets this Stutter Step apart from all other topwater baits, when you throw it out and it hits the water, and your listeners will just kind of have to picture this, but when you throw it out and the bait is looking at you, a traditional walking bait, whenever you get the rod tip and you twitch it, the bait's going to come towards you at a 40. It's going to go 45 degrees, either left or right, and the next time you twitch it, it'll go 45 the other direction, and it just is coming at you at 45 degrees. What the Stutter Step does is throw it out. The first time you twitch it, it's actually going to turn 90 degrees, and let's say it turns 90 degrees to the left. The next time you twitch it, it's going to turn 90 degrees to the right, but it's really not coming towards you at the quickness that a traditional walking bait would do. And that's because the tail allows the bait to get this, you know, 180 degree turn to it. But it also, I mean, that's what we call the traditional or the Stutter Step action, the namesake action of the bait. But there are also other actions that you can get out of it, and it's really not anything you have to do any different, but maybe just twitch the bait a little bit harder. There's an action called wag the tail, and you know, it's still, as the bait goes, you know, to the left 180 and to the right 180, what it does when you twitch a little bit harder to get this wag the tail action is it actually kicks water out to the side. And as you know, fishermen know, I mean, when you take a bait that's like a chugger bait, like you're out there fishing, you know, for smallmouth or whatever, you're throwing that bait up and it's spitting that water out. Well, what the Stutter Step does is it actually kicks the water out to the side. It's similar to what a chugger bait would do, throwing it out forward. So, you know, that's another action. A third action on the bait is what we call a wobble wake, where you actually throw the lure out, and the bait, the bottom of the belly of the lure, it's not round like just traditional topwater bait. It actually kind of has a point that comes down to it, so it's not completely round. And what that does is it allows the bait, if you just throw it out and just want to reel it back in, it actually has a wobble and puts out a wake, similar to what a snake would do on top of the water. So it just gives it, that's a whole nother action. And I know Brian Latimer, one of our pro staff, he's an FLW fisherman, which I'm sure most of your listeners know who he is, but over in the Carolinas, I mean, that, you know, he catches a lot of fish just using the wobble wake, which is very simple to throw. It's kind of like a rattle trap. Throw it out, reel it in. You really don't need a lot of technique on learning how to do that. And then there's also one other action that the bait will do, and it's called the turnaround twitch, and that's really something that we do as we're fishing the lure with either the Stutter Step or the wag the tail or the wobble wake action, where as you're working one of the actions, you can literally twitch the rod tip hard and then just pause, and the bait will actually turn around and look 180 degrees in the other direction where you threw the lure. So it's got a lot of action to it. You know, it's just a very unique bait, and you know, it's 5 inches long. I mean, when people see it, they go, "Man, that's a pretty big bait." But you know, it's amazing how many smaller fish have been caught
talking about all those different actions that you're drived, it's obviously something you got to go out there and you got to throw it and kind of watch and learn what it does, and it's different ways of you twitching it that gives you those different actions. Right.
I mean, we took the bait out. We were, filming a show here in Louisiana, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, and I threw this lure up on the side of a cypress tree and literally twitched the rod tip like 12 times, and the lure was still on the side of the tree. So I mean, it's just a lot better chance of you throwing it up next to a pier or rocks or any kind of structure, and it just stays in that targeted area a lot longer than any other lure. So that's going to increase your chances for that fish just to get aggravated with it and hit it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, incredible. And the design of that. So obviously we got to thank you guys and your counterpart over in Zimbabwe that came up with that. His out of wood, but yours out of plastic. So tell us. Now you've already mentioned the bait. So we've talked about how we fish it, twitching it, and that and stuff, and the different types of action. You've mentioned it's 5 inches in length. Does it come in different weights, or is it the same weight? Are you looking to make a smaller version or a bigger version? And also, do they come in? What are the various color patterns? Do they come in?
Right. Right now, I mean, we just have it in the 5-inch size. 5 inches in length. It weighs an ounce. It has size 1 hooks on it. They're mustad hooks. We introduced it at ICAST in 12 colors. We've added one other color to it that we've just had people that were saying, man, we would love to see a solid chrome pattern in the Stutter Step. So we've actually added a new color here a few weeks back called the Silver Surfer. It's just just a solid chrome Stutter Step, and I know Brian Latimer. He's been catching a lot of fish on it over in the Carolinas and some other places. I mean, he does a lot of fishing with it. He was one of the pro staff guys, along with Mark Daniels Jr. and Boyd Duckett. I mean, several of them have just gone crazy over the bait, and so we added that lure in just because the demand was already there for it. And Pete, that's the hard part sometimes is you introduce a new product like a Stutter Step, and we have to determine what 12 colors do we want to introduce it in. I mean, obviously we can't introduce it in 50 colors, and with it being a topwater lure, we want to make sure that we really have some really good topwater colors in there. But we've added in some new colors for this, some ghost type colors and so forth. I mean, we do have the traditional chrome and gold and baby bass, things like that. Mm-hmm. We are looking at doing a smaller version of it and hopefully have it out, for the spring fishing or maybe early summer. I really can't say a whole lot else about it right now, but I know we are working on a smaller size.
So, and you're right. As you mentioned about the colors, there's so many different color patterns and color variances and combinations of colors that you could use. Yeah, you'd be mixing paint forever. And you guys wanted to get that out to market, and it is, as you said, it's a topwater bait, and you've got as the ones you mentioned, the chromes, the baby bass, and that, the traditional topwater colors, and so that's phenomenal. You guys got it out there, and again, I think it's an incredible product. I know myself, I need to throw it more just to learn about all that it can do. Instead of just doing the traditional topwater walking the dog technique, as everyone knows, right, with a spook or whatever, jitterbug or whatever. You know what I mean? So really cool. Richard, we got to take a quick commercial break here, but when we come back, I know you guys also brought out the a square bill crankbait as well, so maybe we can get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, because we've got something new on that as well.
Excellent, folks. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna take a quick commercial break here. When we come back, we'll talk with more with Richard Broadwell, the national sales manager over at Bill Lewis Outdoors. And you're listening to What's New, the Peter Lerman Outdoors radio show on WRVO Radio Network 1.
Right now, watch thousands of the best outdoor TV shows with My Outdoor TV.
This should be good.
The new app from Outdoor Channel, Sportsman Channel, and World Fishing Network.
That's what we've been looking for.
Stream or download from the largest library of hunting, fishing, and shooting sports content you can't get anywhere else.
Y'all want more? I'm going to give you more.
Get some!
thousands of episodes, all at your fingertips. Sign up at myoutdoortv.com.
Using promo code PLO Radio. Livingston Lures. Livingston Lures is committed to bringing fishermen everywhere innovative, technologically advanced lures designed to flat out catch fish in fresh and salt water. With an exciting new line of crankbaits, lipless crankbaits, topwater baits, jerk baits, and wake baits featuring a unique sound and vibration technology. Livingston Lures is set to make some real noise across the fishing industry. Hey folks, welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you really missed an excellent first part of the show. We're talking today with a friend of mine, Richard Broadwell, who's the National Sales Manager over at Bill Lewis Outdoors. And at ICAST, Richard, they brought out a thing called the Stutter Step, which is a phenomenal topwater bait. And if anybody loves spooks and topwater and walking the dog and whatever, really got to get yourself into get yourself a handful of these Stutter Steps and go out there and work them. And I know you, Richard, you couldn't get into it a lot, but you guys are also working on a smaller version right now. You got the 1 ounce and the 5-inch version with 12, and you just introduced a 13th color. But however, before the break, Richard, we talked about you guys also got into some square bill crankbaits. So let's talk a bit about those.
That's correct. Yeah, that was introduced last year, and we actually one of our pro staffers, Andrew Upshaw, who fishes on the FLW tour. He and Wes Higgins, the president of the company, had discussions about coming out with a square bill crankbait, but we didn't want to just come out with another one. I mean, we really put a lot of thought process into it, and we hooked up with a lure designer that lives over on Lake Sam Rayburn on the border of Texas and Louisiana. His name was Brian Branham, and so we put a lot of emphasis in trying to make sure that we just don't have a traditional kind of square bill out there. I mean, it still has a lot of the same features that what a square bill does, is the way it fishes with around structure and deflects and things like that. But what we did on this lure is it's got a fat body to it, but it has flat sides on it, and the lure's 3 inches long and weighs 5/8 of an ounce. And what the way the body's designed on this, what it allows the bait to do is it displaces a lot of water and has more of a thumping action to it, and more of a wider action than just your traditional square bill crankbait. We also put some larger holographic eyes on it, and what these holographic eyes do is they actually kind of pick up the color of each lure into the eye. So if it's got kind of blue around it, it's going to pick up a blue tint on the eyes, and with them being a little bit larger, it just adds that much more to the lure.
Mm-hmm.
When we introduced it last year, we introduced it in 15 colors, and what we did is we introduced it with some of our supernatural colors that we introduced a few years earlier on our rattle trap family of lures. And these are some just super realistic looking colors that are done with laser imaging. So we brought that same concept over to the Echo 1.75. So not only do you have a bait that has a different action, it really feels like fishing a rattle trap or something like maybe a chatterbait, where you get a good you can just feel that thumping off your rod tip as you're reeling the bait in. Another thing on this bait that really nobody else has is what we did is we have a dual sound chamber built into the Echo 1.75. So we have a high frequency and a low frequency sound chamber in it. So you get that blend of bioacoustics built into one lure. If you reel the lure slower, like if you're fishing colder water or maybe stained water, you reel it slower, and you're going to get that low pitch sound. And then as you speed the bait up, if you're fishing warm water, clear water, things like that, then you'll get more of the high pitch will kick in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got just that dual sound chamber, which is very unique in a fishing lure. So, and then one other thing that we did on this lure, a lot of your crankbaits, square bill crankbaits, where you tie on to the lure, it's the eyes normally down onto the lip, and what we did is we put ours where the lip meets the nose of the lure, and that's where the hanger is. So when you tie onto it, what that does is you're fishing around grass, that helps eliminate, having the grass hang up on the lure and so forth. So it's just a great lure for fishing, in all types of structure, including, getting around the grass lines and things like that.
And square bill crankbaits have been around for a few years now, and every manufacturer now has one. Square bill crankbaits are phenomenal. I love throwing them. I love throwing them around wood and stuff like that. I had a conversation with Byron Velvick about that. We did a thing back in the spring with another lure company, and we were talking about fishing crankbaits around timbers and stuff like that, and recommend getting a lure knocker because it'll save you a lot of money at the end of the day. But you're absolutely right, Richard, with your with the Echo 1.75 and the dual sound chambers. There's not a lot of crankbaits out there that have that, and you guys do.
Right, and then, and for 2017, just based on the demand, once the product got out there, and of course we there's one thing about this company since I've worked here is we listen to our customers, and fishermen, as you know, always have great ideas and have a lot of opinions about things, but we take it serious. And when we get feedback from people, we listen and we talk about it and analyze it, and it helps us for future products and things like that. But so one of the things that we did, just based on a lot of people demanding it, is they said, well, look, we love this bait, but could y'all come out with a silent version of it? So this year what we did is we've introduced the silent Echo 1.75, and we have 7 colors that we're introducing that with. So it's got the same action, same fishability as the traditional. It's just not going to have the sound in it. And a lot of the fishermen have told us, we sometimes, especially when everybody's out there throwing, the lures with sound and things like that, or if they're fishing, real clear water, they want something that, that is going to be silent. So, and we pioneered putting sound in fishing lures back in the early '60s. Mr. Lewis was the one that got the ball rolling on that when he, started designing the rattle trap with sound in it and everything. But we have found there is a portion of the market out there that still would like to have some of these in the silent version. So we went ahead and made the introduction this year for that. So we now have a total of 22 colors in the Echo, and then we do have these 7 colors that are in the silent Echo 1.75.
That's excellent. Unfortunately, Richard, we're kind of running out of time here. Folks, go to your local tackle retailer and look for the Stutter Step and the Echo 1.75 by Bill Lewis Outdoors. Richard, I want to thank you very much for taking the time. I know you guys are really busy, always developing and creating new things, but thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Oh, look, I appreciate it, and I hope all your listeners catch a lot of fish on them. These are phenomenal lures, so I appreciate you having me on today.
I have no problems with that. As long as they don't catch more fish with me during the tournament, we'll be happy.
Yeah, I understand that one.
Folks, this episode was brought to you by Pro J Fishing Tackle out of Scarborough, Ontario. Lewis, building innovative products that are faster, lighter, and stronger. George's Marine and Sports, making fun a reality. Livingston Lures, the difference is clear. Mercury Marine, #1 on the water. And Nitro Boats, driven to be the best. It's our passion. Folks, take a kid fishing. They are the future of our sport, and practice, catch, and release. And remember what I always say, work hard, but fish harder. I'm your host, Peter Larman, and Lord willing, you will tune in to us next week as we bring you what's new. Thanks for listening.